Welcome back to That Dad Guy. It's May the 9th, 2023. For some of you, it's Tuesday. For my father, it's his 90th birthday. So happy birthday, Dad. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day. I was in to visit you already today. You're not going to probably see this video, so everybody else is my dad's 90th birthday. Today, I want to continue what I've been doing all along with my father's stamp collection. I've been going through his Canadian stamps and showing you what he has accumulated. And when it comes to this year, the year of 2012, that is, that's when he gets into these annuals, these souvenir books. Up until then, he was putting all his loose stamps that he'd been collecting in albums, and I showed you those albums that he's been using. And then from 2012 to current, he's just been buying the albums every year. So he has them all in mint. And so that's what I wanted to show you. I've shown you what the different albums have looked like over the years, but now I'm going to start going year by year and showing you what's in the albums. And I will get into other countries and other things too to show you, to mix it up. But it has been a few months since we've done the progression of Canadian stamps, so it's time to get back into it again. So I want to show you what this album looks like. Here we go. Here is the 2012. Get stuck in the 2020s album. You can see how they come out. It's just a book like this. Nothing too special on the back. The side is empty. The top is black. The only image you have is here on the cover, which is the same image we have on the book. I'm going to adjust this way so you can see properly. We open it up. Nice pattern there. We have a table of contents. We have a winning seasons, and what that talks about, I can adjust this so you can see. There we go. It says, from the time we're old enough to throw a baseball, run a race, or enter our first science fair, we're told it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. But while the games we lose can build character and teach us some important life lessons, our victories play just as big a role in shaping who we are and what we will become. Collection Canada 2012 is a vibrantly designed and stunningly illustrated collection of all the definitive and commemorative stamps issued by Canada Post this year. Together, these stamps tell the story of some of Canada's most extraordinary people, events, and institutions, as well as some of our most remarkable accomplishments. This year, for example, Canadian football fans witnessed a major milestone in the sport's history, the 100th Grey Cup game. That translates into more than a century of victories by some of the greatest athletes ever to play the game. And then it goes on from there. And then the first thing we see is this magnificent image of a Chinese dragon. So here be the dragons. In Western culture, dragons are thought as savage, serpentine monsters that swoop down from the sky to wipe out entire villages with a single terrible breath of fire. In many Eastern cultures, however, dragons are revered as magical, even sacred beings of great wisdom and power. In fact, the dragon is the only mythical creature to have been granted the highest honor, a place as one of the 12 signs of the zodiac that make up the Chinese Lunar New Year. The year of the dragon stretches from January 23rd, 2012 to February 9th, 2013, and signifies a time of great innovation, achievement, and prosperity. And so here you have the Year of the Dragon stamp, and it's a collector sheet. As we move on to our national symbol, the Canadian flag. Canada's flag is perhaps the most recognizable national symbol. For those of you who are watching from around the world, would you agree that the Canadian flag is a very recognizable flag compared to some? I would think so. It's kind of unique. And you can see how it's proudly displayed on some people's painted their heads for Canada Day on July 1st, or maybe dress up their dogs for that day, paint up their garbage bins, all sorts of ways you can show your pride. And here you can see some of the Canadian flag stamps that were issued in 2012. Who wants to play? So we have raccoons. We have caribou. And why are we showing caribou and raccoons? And why are we showing moose and loons? That's because of the animal series of stamps that came out that year. You can see them there. Canada's Queen. Very fitting, seeing we just had the coronation of King Charles III. You can see the Queen giving her address in 1952. And you can see different celebrations of the Queen and different events that she's had in history. And why are we doing that? Because it's the Diamond Jubilee. So here are some of the stamps that were issued for the Diamond Jubilee in 2012. And they continued onto these ones. These ones, if you're a royalist or a monarchist, or maybe just enjoyed the Queen in herself, the images and stories that go along with each one of these stamps and pictures is very detailed. Where no one had gone before. This one says, the most difficult journeys, and in many cases the most rewarding, are those that take us down the paths where no one else has gone before. John Ware and Viola Desmond were two of Canada's boldest and most inspiring trailblazers. At a time when few would have thought it possible, they both achieved things that no Canadian or African descent had ever done or was ever supposed to do. And with that, there are the stamps that were issued for both of those people's achievements. And you can read in detail of what those achievements were. Or quiet power. You can see the artist there with some of the things he's done. Joe Fafarda achieved fame with his extraordinary depictions of what some might call the ordinariness of life in Canada's rural and agricultural communities. And you can see some of his artwork. And they're the depiction in stamps. And those of you who like floral stamps, here is from sunrise to sunset. All the floral stamps that were issued that year. Never to Arrive. We're all very familiar, I think, with the story of the Titanic. And here are some images of that famous ship. Staircase, early exercise room on board. A gentleman's pocket watch. The fabled night where it hit the iceberg and sank off the coast of Canada. You can see some of the lifeboats trying to be retrieved, the bodies that were brought back to the shores, and the stamps that were issued to commemorate that journey. The 100th anniversary of the Titanic and its sinking. You can see what it looked like as it was settled on the bottom of the ocean. And one of the very large stamps that were issued for it as well. The Seeds of a Nation. Some 200 years ago, more than half a century before Confederation, Thomas Douglas, 5th Earl of Selkirk, envisioned a permanent settlement of the shores of the Red River. Using his wealth and influence, Lord Selkirk purchased from the Hudson's Bay Company 300,000 square kilometers of land, an area nearly 4 times the size of Scotland, and convinced a few hundred Scottish and Irish farmers and their family to make the long and arduous journey to North America. So you can see here what he's done, and there's the stamp to commemorate him. And the Red River settlement, which is now in Manitoba and the Métis people. The globe-trotting turtle. Illustrations from Franklin goes to the hospital. And you can see the stamps and the first day issue for Franklin the Turtle. celebration of times past. There we've got the rodeo at the Calgary Stampede. The Stampede was founded in September 1912, so 100 years ago at the time of this stamp album when it came out. And you can see all the different participants at the rodeo. Stampede still goes on today. There are some belt buckles and some different things that you will find at the Stampede, saddles and things for the horses. The persistence of passion. Canadians who have made a difference. So here we have some famous Canadians who have made a difference. Rick Hansen. I could read them all off, but you can see it if you pause it. You can see who they are and their stories. Who knows, maybe I will even be doing more in-depth biographies on some of these Canadians. Now you can see the stamps that were issued for them. Michael J. Fox, from Back to the Future fame or Family Ties fame, but he's done so much more since his disease and the money that he's raised for it. Before the battle had ever begun. So here we have the War of 1812 and a couple of the stamps that commemorate those people that were integral in that war, in the fight. We have A Road to Excellence. You can see a swimmer there. Imagine spending your entire life preparing, sacrificing, and striving for every fiber of your being to achieve a single goal. Then imagine having all those hopes and dreams come down to one competition on a single day where the difference between victory and defeat can be measured in a mere hundredth of a second. So here you can see some athletes and their sports that they're competing in, represented by that Olympic stamp with the Canadian maple leaf in the background. That no child should suffer. A nationally televised poll conducted by the CBC in 2004, Tommy Douglas was voted the greatest Canadian of all time. Born to a working-class family in Falkirk, Scotland, Douglas was instrumental in the establishment of the democratic socialism in Canada and was the first leader of the New Democratic Party. But in a long and illustrious career that included serving as Premier of Saskatchewan for 17 years, Douglas' crowning achievement was his vision and plan for a universal health care, which was introduced first in Saskatchewan in 1962 and then to all of Canada in 1966. And there is the Tommy Douglas stamp. The celestial clock. Throughout history, humanity has turned its eyes to the night sky to track the passage of time. In Western society, this ancient tradition is stargazing led to a creation of the zodiac. The zodiac is a circle of 12 astrological signs, each representing a different celestial constellation. Many people believe that the alignment of the sun, moon, and planets within the 12 zones of the zodiac can have a profound influence on the force that shape both our individual and personalities and our futures. And so here we have the stamps of the zodiac. And you can see my father's added an extra one. He had two of that one apparently. True Canadian icon. Here is the Grey Cup, which is the symbol of the Canadian Football League, which celebrated its 100th anniversary. And here you can see some of the early players of the sport. Not much equipment in the early days. And if it was leather. And then you can see how it's progressed into what we see nowadays. A lot more protective equipment. Nice mixture of color and black and white or sepia pictures. The Grey Cup seems to be getting as much coverage as the Diamond Jubilee, the Diamond Jubilee of the Queen. Maybe even a bit more. Here you can see all the championships that each one of the teams has won. And then here are the representative 8 teams at the time that competed in the CFL year in 2012. 2012, not 2012. And here are some of the stamps that were issued. Once again, my father had an extra one of the stamps, so he just plopped that inside. Should take that out. Helping those who help others. An old African proverb states that it takes a village to raise a child to make all our children have the chance to lead healthy, safe, and happy lives. It can take the combined effort of an entire nation. Every year in Canada, thousands of charitable organizations and millions of volunteers give their time, their passion, and the resources to help some of the most vulnerable members of our society, including children. By supporting their efforts, we can all do our part to lend a helping hand to those who help others and make a difference for the better in our communities across the country. And there is the charitable stamp that was issued in 2012. We stand on guard for thee. So here you can see some of the Canadian uniforms in the military throughout the years, starting back in 1862 all the way to 2012. Story of Salvation. So here we get into the Christmas stamp that came out that year. A Sweet Taste of Holidays. So here you can see some of the Christmas baking stamps that came out that year. And the children baking away. And in the end, there we have kind of a glossary again of everything that came out within that year. So that's a different way of looking at one whole calendar year, what came out by Canada Post. I think it does a marvelous job. I think you're really going to enjoy. If you liked this book, you're going to like subsequent books that I will show you that lead up to present. There's so much detail in these. I just gave you a synopsis of what a single stamp's page and description talked about, but there is a lot more detail, as you could see as I was flipping through the pages. You can spend more time analyzing the pictures that are there and where the inspiration for the actual stamp comes from in the long run. Great stories in there, great things to learn about Canada, about Canadians, things that have shaped our country and our postal system as a result of it. So hopefully if you enjoyed it, you'll stick in and watch some more videos. I'll be back again to do more stamps for sure. So have a magical week. What, Polo? You say like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends?
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
Bye.